You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Boy, oh boy, welcome in everybody. This is a crossover postcast courtesy of our good friends there from Locked On Sports Philadelphia and Locked On Sports Miami as well. Hope you guys are doing wonderful and enjoying this fine Mother's Day. And Mom, I hope you really enjoyed baseball because you got a little free baseball today. And the Phillies, unfortunately, are not able to complete the sweep of the Marlins. But for Marlins fans, you fortunately get, you know what you get? I'll tell you what you get, Marlins fans. You guys get your 11th win of the season. So congratulations to you. And what a win it was. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be lovely. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be fantastic. However you get a win is you get a win, whether it's a big hit by Josh Bell, like you got with that 3-run home run off Zack Wheeler, or it's a shot off Rivera that literally goes off Gregory Soto, pitching for the Phillies at that point in the game. So whatever helps you is one that helps you greatly. Let's bring in Gries himself. Will be the other part of this fine postcast episode. Gries, I missed you, my friend. I was just saying I hope Mom likes baseball because she got a free inning of it today.
What is up, Farzy? I don't know what just happened, man. I think maybe the universe, the baseball gods, were so shocked that the Marlins won a game and so shocked that they beat the Phillies to do it. I mean, some things defy explanation, and so maybe things just got overloaded there and things got out of whack. But we're here. We're happy. I hope everybody has had a fantastic Mother's Day. I know I just had an amazing visit with my mom and my son's graduation and everything. It was just a real family time. So whoever is there today and out there watching us, having a good time with your mom, enjoying that family time and taking care of her the way that you have. We already told you how to do it with DoorDash. So I hope you've had an awesome, awesome Mother's Day, looking at the pink bats and the pink wristbands everywhere. and moms deserve that, right, Farzy? Moms deserve that.
100%. Just like our fine viewers and listeners deserve to pick well when it comes to Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use promo code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for your first deposit match up to $100. I was starting it off by saying, Gries, it doesn't really matter how it happens. If it's a 3-run home run that was absolutely blasted by Bell, or it's a Rivera single up the middle that literally goes off Gregory Soto to leak into shallow right field for the game-winning RBI single, a win is a win. Congratulations. And I don't say this facetiously. This is 100%. I mean this genuinely. Congrats on your 11th win of the season.
Congrats on your 11th win of the season. 20 games under 500, 11 games under 500 at home after the win today. But, this speaks to what I talked about yesterday, Farzy, the resilience of this team. There's no quit in this team. They're fun to watch. They keep battling, and I think, and you look at what happened here. I mean, Sanchez has been swinging it pretty well. Had 2 hits today. He'd really been struggling, right? He's swinging the bat well, what happens? He pinch hits Rivera for Sanchez, and it works out. They win the game. You wonder what that effect that's going to have on Sanchez moving forward. But, he had a couple of hits today and contributed to this win. And you look at this team and you look at, the first start of the season, and it didn't go great for Braxton Garrett. At times you saw what we see with him. He's got 6 pitches he can throw for strikes. And, at times he looked good. The Phillies have a lineup that's going to beat you up. Castellanos for sure did that in the first inning. I thought the Phillies were going to win this game. I thought in the 10th inning, and, you had Stott come up in that spot with 2 runners in scoring position, and they put up the graphic. He's hitting 375 with RISP and 2 outs. And you just think, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. But they pitched out of it, and Bender was not beating you up in the zone. That's the thing about Bender. He was a little bit wild tonight, just outside of the zone, running counts full, walked a hitter to load the bases, and then, he got the big outs when he needed them. So I did not think the way Bender was pitching, he wasn't beating you up in the zone. He was working those counts and not helping himself any, and he somehow found a way to get through it. And then, in the bottom half of that inning, the Marlins just found a way, and that was one of the, if you would, this is why I love this, right? If you would have bet a prop bet, any kind of prop bet, how they would have scored that run in the bottom of the 10th inning, you could never have guessed that in a million years. So the way that inning unfolded, the Phillies are getting out of here with an L. but it's a little bit of a shot in the arm for the Marlins, a mini homestand where they had lost the first 5 games, man. Think about that. That's demoralizing. That's where you're going out on the road and the dog days really hit you. Hopefully this win can give them, I don't want to get too carried away, but hopefully this win can give them a little something to work with moving forward.
Certainly, and I think any baseball fan would want that same thing. If I was in your shoes, I'd be wanting the same thing. And when I look at a game like this, I see both teams that blow a 3-run lead in this game. You had the Phillies go up 3-0, and then the Marlins were able to come roaring back and all of a sudden open up a 6-3 lead. When the Phillies came back after Edmundo Sosa tied things up or brought it to within 2 runs, I believe it was, and then they were able to tie things up, I thought, this is the moment right here. And that 6th inning when the Phillies were able to come back, I thought this was the moment where they were going to take control of the game. They were going to get another big hit. Somebody else was going to hit a home run, somebody that was due. Maybe it was Bryce Harper. Maybe Bryson Stott after the big game yesterday was going to go yard in this one, and you would see a 7-6, maybe an 8-6 Phillies win. But I was overconfident in that first inning. I can say this as a Phillies fan. I looked at it in the first inning. I went, oh, Nick Castellanos spots you 3 runs in the first. Kick your feet up, everybody. A great moment there for Rob Thompson to promote.
With Zack Wheeler on the mound, the ERA was under 1.5. Go figure.
Exactly. And then you see the game go on. Rob Thompson rewards Nick Castellanos for heating up a little bit, has confidence in him, puts him there in that 4 spot, hasn't batted in that spot all season long, rarely is batted in that spot as a Philly in general. And he gets in that spot, he hits the 3-run home run. I'm kicking my feet up, and then I watch Zack Wheeler, as you mentioned. 4 1/3. Struggling to find the strike zone.
It was all him too. That was all him. Like he just struggled today. It wasn't what the Marlins did. He just didn't have his game.
Yeah, he did not. He was struggling with the splitter that he has started to really incorporate into his game. The sweeper or curveball that wasn't really doing what it has done for Zack Wheeler in recent time. He was getting frustrated with the home plate umpire in the game today as well. It wasn't on the up. The pitches that he wanted to be called strikes weren't strikes. Whether he thinks as Zack Wheeler he's earned those corners or earned an inch off the plate, whatever. I don't really buy into that too much. I thought it was pretty legit.
I'm sorry, Farzy. I hate that, man. I hate when a pitcher thinks that they've bought that with anything they've done. I'm a firm believer that the damn strike zone is the strike zone. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think you've earned. The strike zone is the strike zone. It's letters to knees. It's corner to corner. I don't care who you are. It should be the same for everyone. That was something that to me was drastically wrong with Major League Baseball for years and years. Different rules for different players. You see it in the NBA all the time with foul calls for superstars. And I know the games are driven by that, but I don't understand how anyone, especially someone like Zack Wheeler, could just assume that you've earned it. I mean, what are you, Cy Young? All of a sudden you have 511 wins? No, pitch the ball. Jeez.
Yeah. The only guy that I'll make the exception for, and yes, this is partially a homer biased, Jamie Moyer. If you're 75 years old and you're still throwing baseballs, you've earned the corners. That's what I'll say. You get a little bit of an expanded strike. It's the only person. So the next person that pitches at 75, you get those corners. I want you to take me through this because I was pulling my non-existent hair out of my head when it came to that 3rd inning and Bell stepped up to the plate right before he hit the 3-run home run. You get Chisholm up there who leads off with that double to center field. Then De La Cruz works a walk. Berger steps up there, grounds into the 6-4 putout, beats out the throw. Now, Edmundo Sosa had trouble digging that ball out of his glove. They were saying on our home broadcast in Philly that they would have been able to turn 2. I don't think so. I know Berger's not fleet of foot, but he beat that throw handily. So I don't think that they're going to turn 2 on that play. So you get that play there. It's 1st and 2nd with 1 out. Bell steps up to the plate, and he tattooed. First off, I think he went up in the count 3-0. Wheeler worked his way back in a little bit, threw him a 3-0 fastball, got the strike call, and then threw him the 3-1 cutter. And that's the ball that ended up being 411 feet away from home plate.
Yeah, it didn't cut enough, or it cut too much, one or the other. But when you or not late enough, and that's a dangerous pitch because if it doesn't have that late action on it, you're going to see that more often than not. And you had asked about Bell yesterday, right? There's a little bit of that tantalizing talent on display today. Chisholm too, as well, who we talked about yesterday. But in that situation, when you're Wheeler and you're down 3-0, I don't care who you are in Major League Baseball, you're still facing Major League hitters and you're still facing the best of the best. So when you fall behind 3-0 and you're battling back, it's just more pitches that they see, more chances to time you, see the different pitches you throw, maybe sit dead red on something. And that's what happened with Bell there, and so it was a situation where Wheeler worked himself into that position and it bit him in the butt. And you saw some of that talent from Bell to work that count. And some things, we talked about Farzetta with the Marlins, not as much patience at the dish. Seemed like every hitter's falling behind 0-2 every game that we watch. And today they did a better job being patient, and they made Wheeler work for it. A lot of the pitches missed by a mile, and he was helping him out. But overall, I thought they did a better job, and they've been doing a better job. You can tell they've been working on discipline at the plate, which is huge, right? And then you just go back to the Barry Bonds stat from 2003 or 4, whereas even if he hadn't gotten a hit all year, his on-base percentage still would have been like 369, of just that plate discipline to draw those walks and to have that, to lay off those borderline pitches, especially the ones that are up in the zone that you really can't do a lot with anyway. And then, they tried to run themselves out of an inning today, but a pretty good slide saved them. They tried, Farzy. They tried. It just didn't work.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the Phillies because obviously when you're winning, you want it to keep it going. And if you're losing, you want that moment that's going to be that turning point of the season where they started their way back to at least flirting with 500 baseball. And you want to say it all started with that 10-inning win against the Philadelphia Phillies in this case. But one of the things I look at as a Phillies fan looking at this game was Phillies just failed to take advantage of opportunities. They didn't get a lot of them in this game, but you look at it 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position, and the bottom of the lineup carried you for the most part in this 3-game series. Sosa had himself a big series. Pache, leading into today, had himself a big series. Unfortunately, 2 strikeouts. One was a rough one with that automatic strike call after he fouled a ball off his leg. I thought that was a big miscommunication between he and the umpire. And then later in the game, just not be able to put good wood on the baseball. But for the most part in this series, it was the bottom of the order that was really helping you rack up the wins and rack up the good ABs. It went out the window today with the exception of Edmundo Sosa and his 2-run triple there into the left field corner. So it was a rough one for the Phillies, to say the absolute least, but failing to capitalize on other opportunities, 2 for 9, especially with runners in scoring position, did not help the cause today. But it came down, as you highlighted earlier, it came down to pitching.
No, and 2 of those at-bats were in the 10th inning when I still don't know how they didn't score top of the 10th. I don't know. Yeah. I don't have any idea. That's another one of those innings where I talked to you yesterday about how last week the Marlins had an inning where they had 2 singles and a double back to lead off an inning and didn't score. I almost feel similarly about that 10th inning with the Phils, because the whole time, and Marlins fans, as you're watching that game or as you're listening to it, you're just thinking, oh, they're walking Harper. And then when Harper stole second and when Clemens is up there, you're just thinking he's going to pop up. It just never happened. It was really tough as a Philly fan. Castellanos gave you a quality AB. I thought for sure Stott was going to come through there, but they didn't want to really give him anything good to hit, and who could blame him? He's red hot. So when you look at that, and he had 2 more hits today. So then you have Clemens up there and you're just feeling like he's going to come through. But that was one of those innings where, as a Philly fan, and look, we're splitting hairs and you're spoiled. You're Philly fan. You are absolutely spoiled, rotten to death by this team right now, because you know that you're not going to go. In 100 games, 2 for 9 runners in scoring position. That's going to happen maybe 1 out of every 50 or 60 games for the Phillies.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. All right. What sticks out to me is you didn't get a ton from Harper, but today you get Bryson Stott in the 4th inning to lead off with a double. So when you have a lineup like this and Bryson Stott standing on second base and there's nobody out, you talk about spoiled. Okay, I admit it. I'm spoiled. But guess what? When you're spoiled, you only want more things. No one that's spoiled ever goes, I've had enough.
No, you're right.
You're
right, bro.
We don't really practice temperance too much.
Take it all. Give me it all when it's here. I want it all, every bit of it.
Exactly. I'm not sharing my fries, even the one that fell out of the holder. Right. So you see Stott lead off. Yeah, right. So you see Stott lead off in that 4th inning. He gets on second base. Sosa lays down that awful sack bunt that goes right back to I can't remember. It was still Garrett pitching at that time. Yeah. And then Stott gets thrown out at third. There's not even close. He's completely toast at that point. And then Marsh goes up there and he strikes out, and Pache grounds out to third. And just like that, as fast as you thought something was going to happen, it went away. 2 innings later, Harper was able to get things started off there in that 6th inning, which ended up being a big inning for them. But what hurt them, again, going back to that 4th inning, was they don't get anything from that leadoff double. And then Brujan gets hit by a pitch, and they were off to the races in the 4th inning there for the Marlins. And that really is where things, unfortunately, turned for the worst for the Phils. Again, both teams losing or blowing 3-run leads. I don't think you're going to see too many instances of that in a 162-game season.
No, you're not. You're absolutely not. And throughout the game for the Marlins, there were different, and I like what they showed, right? Coming back from a 3-run deficit, the 3 runs early. You've already lost the first 5 games on this mini little or you've lost 5 in a row, excuse me. You lose the first 2 games of this little mini homestand against the Phillies. It's only a 3-game homestand. Sometimes it bleeds together. They were in LA against the Dodgers before that, and they'd lost 5 in a row. So you're coming off a stretch, Farzy, where you've played probably the 2 best teams in the National League right now. Would you say that's a stretch?
No.
Phillies got the lead over the Braves. You got the Dodgers in the West. 2 best teams in the National League back to back, right? Yeah. And you're getting beat up, man. There's no other way to look at it. You know, you're the little kid on the playground, and the big boys are bullying you and beating the crap out of you. So you have 2 choices. You can not show up to school, or you can show up to school and kind of mail it in, kind of go through the motions, skip recess. Please don't make me go outside. Or you can stand up to the bully, take their best shot, give everything you have, and hopefully it works out in your favor. And today, George McFly, you know what I mean? David versus Goliath, however you want to word it. The Marlins were able to salvage 1 win against these. I mean, and I can say from watching these 2 teams, man, it's depth. It's different ways to score runs, different ways to beat you every day. The Phillies and the Dodgers both have it all. And for the Marlins to not give up when they face that early 3-run deficit, now here we go again. Let's just cruise through this game and get out of here with another loss. They kept scratching, they kept clawing, and they found a way to get it done. So as a Marlins fan, you have to be proud today of what your team did.
I am a fan of Josh Bell. I like Bell. I think he's a heck of a hitter. He's a bit of a bopper. That's why I asked you about him yesterday. I got to get your take on Garrett. We haven't really focused on him yet through his 5 1/3. I want to ask you about that coming up in a second. Oh, and one more thing on being spoiled. Here's me not taking it for granted. I am not taking it for granted that I am checking the standings in May. I'm not used to doing that. So June, the end of June is when I go, oh, yeah, the standings are a thing. How many games behind the Braves are the Phillies? Only 5? All right. Phillies, a game and a half up right now on the Braves. Braves play the Mets later on tonight. So I'm still checking the standings as of right now. But when we come back, I want to get your thoughts on Garrett and his outing today and what he was able to do for the Marlins today. But first, I do have to tell you about the incredible people, ladies and gentlemen, at Policy Genius. If you don't know Policy Genius, you're really missing out on how great Policy Genius is, because we all know that life insurance is something huge. It's a huge box that you have to check off to make sure that your family has that incredible safety net. But trying to find that right policy, that can be tough. It can be time-consuming. It can be overwhelming. And it can certainly be a little bit confusing. That's why you have to use Policy Genius, the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time. It saves you money, so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 a year per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Once again, that's Policy Genius with life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams, because we all know what a holdup those can be. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb, or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how you can save money. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. So what did you make of Garrett's performance tonight and what he was able to do? Debut for the season, was it for him?
Yes, and you know what? I mean, there were a lot of pitchers in this game. How many did we have overall? 11 pitchers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, just right around there. Sure.
I mean, I was watching this. You start to get some what's that bursitis in your shoulder from going like this all day? The 2 managers. But
12. Holy Stromboli. 12.
7 pitchers for the Phillies and 5 for the Marlins. And you were hoping for more than that out of Garrett. I mean, your starter goes 5 1/3, and you still use 4 more after that. But Nardi's been solid lately. Nardi and Maldonado, who didn't pitch today. Nardi gave up the run today, but he's been solid. Maldonado's been solid. That bullpen has been pretty good for the Marlins today. Scott and Bender just didn't have any control. But Garrett is interesting, bro, because Garrett has 6 pitches. He throws 6 pitches. And, for a starter to have that many pitches and to be able to throw them for strikes and to be able to do what he's been able to do. And I think he's got the opportunity to be someone special for this team. I think he's got the ability to really do some good things in this rotation. But again, with the Marlins, you just don't know. Luzardo came back yesterday. Garrett comes back today. You know, you've had Ryan Weathers pitching this year. You've had Edward Cabrera. You've had Sanchez come over, and he hasn't looked so good. And I'm missing one, Roderick Munoz, all these young arms, and some of them have that electricity, you know, that pop when it, and also the sharp sliders. And you see, like, man, this, like Cabrera, the stuff that he has is electric. For Braxton, it's more like a control thing. And when he really is controlling those pitches and able to nibble and hit those corners and throw strikes, he's going to be very effective. And with the shoulder injury, everything seems to be okay with him. But, you know, I mean, Cabrera's on the DL now, so it just doesn't seem like they can catch a break and get everybody healthy at once. But you know that this kid has what it takes. You know that he has the ability, and you know that you're thinking that he can do great things moving forward in the future. But for right now, you just don't know. Because you saw, and I would ask you what you saw today, because you saw a little of both. You saw what he can be capable of, right? Yeah. You saw him pitch out of some things, but you also saw what his downfall can be.
Yeah, the thing that really sticks out to me, the difference between his start and Wheeler's start, because they were separated by 4 outs in essence, essentially, was the strikeouts. I mean, 8 strikeouts for Garrett, and then you had only 2 strikeouts for Zack Wheeler. Zack Wheeler's a strikeout pitcher, and he does a hell of a job of usually cranking up his put-away pitches. That wasn't happening. So in the first inning, when I saw Nick Castellanos just jump all over that pitch and blast it out for the 3-run home run, what I was also taking notice of that he struck out the side.
Yep.
And then after the first 2 innings of the game, he had 6 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. Now, again, one of them was the automatic one, but still, that, even if you're not counting it, 5 strikeouts in your first 6 batters that you're facing, for your first 6 outs, that's pretty electric. And he was the slider for him. It reminded me of watching Luzardo, because Luzardo's slider was incredible. Phillies were chasing that. Harper was really struggling with that yesterday. He was struggling with it again today. So I thought, if he's able to get those put-away pitches, even if he walks a guy, he gives up a single, he's going to be able to get his way out of these jams, because his stuff did look sharp. Zack Wheeler, as we mentioned already, did not look sharp today. That was one of his worst starts that I have seen him have in a Phillies uniform. And especially when you just talk about overall accuracy from him, it wasn't there. He could bitch and moan about the corners all he wants, but he just wasn't close to it. He wasn't even around the plate with some of those. And credit to the Marlins. As you said, a big thing with this team, with the Marlins, they're not a very patient team. If they're not a patient team, today they did a great impression of a patient team.
They sure did, didn't they?
I give them credit for that.
They sure did. And I want to say one more thing about Braxton. He doesn't throw a lot of fastballs. If you notice, he's a sinker slider. The occasional changeup, but the sinker slider, I mean, and I'm looking at the numbers right now, and I don't love to sit here and read numbers. I mean, obviously, but, you know, we don't want to just get too caught up in that. But 38 sinkers, 25 sliders, 6 changeups, 5 cutters, and 3 4-seamers to go along with 3 curveballs. So he throws 6 pitches. Obviously, you know, you're going to call a game differently every time out based on the lineup, based on what he's done against the hitters in the past, and all that, granted. But when you're that heavy with sinker slider, that shows you how good that stuff is. But it also shows you that his fastball is not a put-away pitch. And that's a problem in the major leagues when your fastball is not a put-away pitch.
Sure, but I agree with you entirely. And if you're making that statement about every pitcher in baseball, generally speaking, you're absolutely going to be right the majority of the time. But, man, if you're cooking with those other pitches and you're keeping the Phillies batters off balance, especially one of the things I did notice with the Phillies is in this series, the last 2 games in particular, they were jumping at first pitch. I mean, Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper, not as much. Kyle Schwarber, even though he hasn't played only once in this series. These guys this is a very aggressive bunch. But then they balance themselves out with guys like Bryson Stott, who is not afraid to go down there in a 0-2 count and just foul off some pitches. And then all of a sudden, before you blink, there's 10 pitches being thrown. It happened in a couple of different instances in this game. And I noticed the Marlins had a couple of those as well, where they were getting the 7, 8, 9 pitch at bats as well. But with the Phillies, they'll have guys that will be patient. They'll have guys that will try to run a pitch count up, especially if a pitcher is really starting to hit a bit of a stride. And that's one of the things that Bryson Stott did tonight. And I want to say he had a 10-pitch at bat, maybe in that 6th inning as part of that rally. Maybe it came later in the game. But that's something that you can usually rely on him for, to be able to break through when a pitcher is hitting that groove the way Braxton Garrett was in this ball game today.
Yeah, and he has not pitched well against the Phillies. He pitched against them once or twice last year, and he literally, I mean, he won a game 9-8, but he got ripped in that game. The playoff game, don't forget, in October last year. So this lineup has had success against him, but to settle down the way he did after the 3-run homer, I thought that was great. And I also think into your point, Farzy, when you're, as a guy who used to pitch, if you can throw the slider or the sinker first pitch strikes all day long, and you can hit those spots with those pitches, what an advantage to have. What an advantage to have as a big league pitcher. And he can consistently do that. And as you mentioned, he does get a lot of strikeouts. So I am anxious to see, one, if he stays here, and two, just how he continues to develop. He won 9 games a year ago, ERA in the 3s. He's obviously got a chance to be a solid. I don't know if he's ever going to be an ace or even a number 2. Could potentially step up and become a number 2, maybe even an ace if everything breaks right for him, but could definitely be a solid starter that's going to win you double digits and eat a whole bunch of innings for you.
All right, you ready? You ready for a little taste of Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm.
You want ready for a little taste of Philadelphia? Here's my man Crazy chiming in the show. DFA Soto, just like that.
Wow.
Soto gives up the game. I'll say this: Soto has not been good this year. So this is not a knee-jerk reaction. Even if that ball gets through, you're probably still scoring the game-winning run. The only thing he could do in that situation is come up with some miraculous defensive play. And I don't have a lot of confidence in Gregory Soto coming out of the bullpen and all of a sudden flashing Gold Glove leather there at the mound, unfortunately. Hey, I want to talk about where both teams are headed next, because that'll be it for this series. But before we do that, you want to tell the great people about one of our amazing sponsors that we have on this program, the people at Prize Picks?
Oh, man, Prize Picks, you guys know, it's America's #1 fantasy sports app. I could stop right there, just give you the special, and that would be enough, right? America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members, Farzy. It's the easiest, it's the most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players, and that is Prize Pick. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Baseball in full swing. I'll tell you what, man, you don't want to miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, the Phillies had 3 today. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. They have something for every sports fan, though. It's not just baseball. You know, if you're like me, your favorite sport is whatever season it is. Baseball, basketball, League of Legends, and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry with Prize Picks. Sugar Sean O'Malley, Meek Mill, some of the celebrities that'll be in there playing with you, and it is a lot of fun to be there, getting some action on the action with Prize Picks. So what are you waiting for? I know you've already done this, Farzy. I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to you watching the show right now. If you haven't done it, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today. LOCKEDONMLB, first deposit match up to $100 with Prize Picks, the #1 fantasy sports app in America.
Gries, I just want to give you a little bit more of this beautiful flavor from my people here. Star Wars 99, Rob Thompson, bad decision. Go Sixers, who's also a Phillies fan for the record. Soto isn't locked on.
Oh, I like that. Okay, see, you know what? I love the Philly fans, by the way. I love that passion. I love that whole, day by day, it's what you love about baseball, right? 162 games, day in and day out. It's like suicide watch, and then everybody's on top of the world. But Philly fans, it's one game, okay? You've won still now 20 of your last 26 games, all right? And 19 of your last 24. Things are okay. You're in first place. You have the best record in the National League. The Dodgers and the Braves and everybody else are looking up at you. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just going to give you a virtual digital hug, Philly fan.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you have a friend at a party that might be a little riled up, and you'll be like, hey, calm down. And then that friend yells back, I'm calm. That's Philadelphia. That the friend, the calm down. That's how you put the quarter in the machine.
Go get some broccoli, Rob, and everything's okay.
The cure-all.
Sunday, get the Sunday gravy and the broccoli, Rob, you know.
There you go. Hey, so congrats again to the Marlins. You guys, as we say up here. You guys break your 5-game losing streak, so that's good. And you got a 3-game series, a quick 3-game series there on the road with the Detroit Tigers. How you feeling about that 3-game set?
There's a big connection between the Marlins and the Tigers because Dave Dombrowski and Miguel Cabrera went there and became Hall of Famers. So there's always a little bit of that envy when the Marlins play the Tigers. And no, it's interesting to see it. Just a quick little homestand. This team goes right back on the road, and we'll see how it goes. But I will say this. Berger came back this week. You had Luzardo come back. You have Braxton Garrett making his first start of the season today. Things are starting to come together a little bit for this team, at least in terms of what we thought it would look like coming into the season, day in and day out, and just decimated by injuries to start the year on top of everything else, Farzy. So I'm anxious to see the Marlins continue to get guys back healthy and start to put together somewhat of a run, because this team is honestly way better than what it's shown so far.
Fair enough. Phillies fans, although you still have the best record in baseball, you're a 500 team in your last 4 games. So obviously the sky's falling. No. Look, you got a 4-game set coming up with the New York Mets. You have 2 in Flushing, and then you have 2 in Philly. So it's a 2-2 split 4-game series against the Mets. The Phillies just keep winning games against your divisional opponents. The only games that I want to be, really waiting with great agita are the games against the Atlanta Braves. The games against the Marlins, no offense. The games against the Mets, the games against the Washington Nationals, those are games you should be stacking wins. So even though you lost the 3rd game, you didn't bust out the brooms, it's still 2 out of 3. Keep winning series. As I highlighted yesterday, the Phillies haven't lost a series since their 2nd series.
I was just going to say that. Keep winning the series. 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. Keep winning the series. That's it. That's all they have to do the rest of the year.
Tomorrow for the Phils, it'll be a 7:10 start time. The Mets will wrap up a series with the Braves tonight, 7 o'clock start time. And tomorrow night, it'll be 7:10. Christopher Sanchez against Manea there of the Mets. So that's the way that breaks down. Gries, I look forward to the next time the Phillies and Marlins play, brother, and do another show with you.
Man, I'll tell you what, bald and beautiful. We crushed it these last couple of days, Farzy. Appreciate you, man. It's been easy with you and Pete Fox so far, Dodgers and Phillies. It hasn't been easy on the Marlins, but it's been easy for me.
Copy that. Yes, I appreciate you showing me the ways of the Locked On Sports POSTCAST crossover. So I appreciate that, Gries.
Thank you. Appreciate you, my man, and keep killing it there in Philly.
Back at you, brother. Hey, everyone that watched, everyone that listened, everyone that subscribed, everyone that hit like, thank you so much for doing that. Gries, so you'll be on tomorrow night with that Tigers game?
Yep, right after the game, Tigers, Marlins, and we'll keep it going. Hopefully the Marlins will too.
All right, and I will be here with you, Philadelphia. Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Make sure you guys catch that as well, following the Phillies and Mets opening up their split 4-game series with 2 games in Flushing and 2 games in South Philly. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and once again, happy Mother's Day to all you wonderful moms. Appreciate you. See ya.